So good morning. Good morning. First retreat morning. We probably all had a variety of different experiences. This experience here was absolutely no sleep whatsoever. Zero. But that often happens for me on the first night of retreat. Whether I'm teaching or whether I'm attending, or I don't know. It's not bad. I just meditate or keep my eyes closed, remind myself that I'm relaxed. But sleeping, no. This morning, I wanted to bring forward several different facets. So we'll see how this goes. It feels like a journey, right? I like the word unfolding. It feels like an unfolding. You know, there's a period of time in our lives where we are very identified with ideas, thoughts, opinions, status, doing, relationship. You know, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. When this happens, I react a certain way, and I am that, and you know that. We're very identified with what we might call personality and the reactions of personality. And then, you know, something begins to unfold. It's obviously unfolded for you, or why would you be sitting in this room? Where it kind of dawns on us, and it's almost like a remembering, right? Because all of us, when we're children, we know this. But it kind of dawns on us, oh, I'm definitely more than that. You know, I'm more than just my reactions and my identifications, my thoughts, my feelings. We might get into like self-help at that point, or, you know, go to counseling. It's all perfectly designed. All of it is very useful and skillful at different moments during the journey, right? I just want to make sure this is up so those people can hear me. But then something begins to kind of call, like a yearning that's even beyond just knowing that we are, you know, intellectually or conceptually that we're part of everything, that spirit and matter are not divided. There's a calling within us that wants to know this directly, even more deeply, more profoundly. And that's kind of how it begins, right? So I've always felt like I had very little to say other than let go, relinquish the idea and the identification with the idea of separation. That fundamentally, somehow, we are a separate entity, apart from source, apart from spirit, apart from everything else. This idea, I mean, frankly, it's killing the world. And it's an idea. It's a thought. It's just one idea. And look at it. It's like an epidemic. Anyway, we all know. So it is a matter of investigating belief. Because all the beliefs fuel all of the emotions, fuel all the beliefs, fuel all the ideas, ideologies, opinions, identifications, and that spell, that obscuration, that density of separation. We have a direct experience and then what's the next step? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where are we going? In that next step, in that referencing, it's a this, it's a that, I feel this, I feel that, here it is, da 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 da, do 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 do. All of the misinformation, misidentification, misunderstanding, war, violence is in that next step. A direct encounter, direct. Peace is, love is, compassion is, and it sounds like a fairy tale to the mind. It sounds like a literal fairy tale. Because the next step, the next reference is, but look at the world, but da da da, and all of the belief begins to pour in, and all the justification and proof, and the mind states its case. It states its case, and it's very seductive. It's hugely seductive. It is so prominently seductive and magnetizing, mesmerizing. Because an expression of humanness without conceptualization is vilified by society mostly. It's feared and it's vilified. Not everywhere on the planet. I mean, there are indigenous cultures that have never set foot in separation. But where we're all coming from, generally, is separate. And it's honored and, the independent spirit. It's set out as a way to be successful. And don't get me wrong, unique, authentic individuation is our dharma. It's our beauty. It's our originality, our ordained birthright. Unique, authentic individuation from, through, and as what we fundamentally are. Not what we believe, but we are. So it isn't for the faint of heart, now is it? Because it's like standing in a very strong current of mesmerizing belief. And if we fight it, well, we all know that that leads to more fighting, more ideologizing, more separation, more this and that, right, wrong, good, bad. We know that. But there's also this urgency of sense of urgency in this day and age, isn't there? Like, but I got to do something. I have to do something. And the mind, like I said, thinks it's a fairy tale to be still, question your thoughts, contemplate the source of reality, wake up to true nature, and uncaused joy. But many indigenous people understand and live joy as justice, joy as the way, rather than fight. I get it. I get it. Because some of these deepest, rooted beyond the conscious mind, more like in just the collective psyche, the deepest rooted beliefs of otherness, lack, scarcity, food chain, all of that. What is it? Dog eat dog, eye for an eye, all that stuff. That is our history. That's our conditioning. It lives in our nervous system. Whether it lives in our hearts, no, I get that. But yes, indeed, it lives in our nervous system. Survival. We had a teacher, Carolyn Mace, who used to say, you want to see how enlightened you are? End of the world, one baby bottle, 1 billion babies. Who gets that baby bottle? Watch. Yes, we're wired for survival. There's a sense in our nervous systems of, I really noticed this. This really opened up for me in my 20s when I was working as a hospice nurse. To sit, and I had 20-something energy back then too. To sit and do nothing in the face of someone gasping, crying out, whatever it was like, oh, do anything, do anything. There was the alarm bells were like, do something, do anything. I feel like there's a lot of that just in general these days, because of the vivid display of the shadow of the belief in separation. I mean, everything's crying out at this point. Everything is crying out to be returned to love, to be returned home, to be seen, and to be reacquainted with its truth, its true self, that of wholeness, allness, uncaused love, love without cause, joy without cause, peace without cause, fundamental. Do you hear me? Essential. Not something we're going to gain or grab or store for later use or use as a skillful means. When this is realized, there is only right here and now, and the way knows the way, and the way is inhabiting itself in this expression. And it moves. There's no big plans for the ego. There's no big reward for the do-gooder. There's nothing like that. That's all based in otherness. Every bit of that is based in otherness. I think as we move along on the journey, and it's fine, you know, all the levels of consciousness, all the unfolding is divinely, divinely, divinely moved. It unfolds from and as source. But I think there's a sense, and it's noble in a certain way. It's, you know, it really is, that I will become the person I've always wanted to be, or a worthy person, or a really good person, or maybe better than other people, or top, or, you know, whatever it is. But the ego is very surprised because nobody actually wakes up. There is nobody in that experience. There is nobody singular in that experience. That's gone in that experience. And when we get right down to it, how many of us are just really willing to let that go, to relinquish actual me, my history, my gifts, my talents, my beliefs. Believe you me, it's about beliefs. It is about belief. No matter how good, let's say, or righteous the ego believes those beliefs to be. You know, Sharon always calls them the precious pearls when you get right down to the fundamental core of what has to be relinquished. Mostly it's about, I'm not good enough. But even beyond that, there are, well, here, I couldn't understand. It kind of blew me out, and I really was so thankful that Sharon was around, because it was personal love. There was just a piece here that was like, no, you don't have to surrender the personal love, that sense of love. Love is love. And it was, you know, a doozy. Could be, I don't know what yours are, you know. For a lot of healers, it's about, you know, fixing and the essential need to be that channel. Anyway, there isn't anybody getting to run the show. There is an expression of that which dances itself into existence every holy instant, employing and inhabiting itself as itself in this certain expression. Whether it be Jenniferness, Michaelness, Barbness, Havenness, whatever it is. And If there ever was a time, the time is now. The time is now. We have all of the resources, you guys. We have all of the privilege. We have all of the time, money, food, water, energy. It's not really about our personal wants and needs at this point. And you know, as we relinquish, let go, give way to what's actually really, truly running the show, animating life, the sustaining, maintaining, unspeakable source of all. Our authentic, unique expression is enjoyed. And I mean that directly and precisely. It's enjoyed. I love the word embodied, but it's beyond that. It's enjoyed. It's danced. And even if it's hard, and some of us might be what's the right word? Used is a funny word. I know there's a better one. In some circumstances, because that's what's going on right now on the planet. We're being called to sit down, stand in and as the truth of who we are. Come what may, and come what they say. Because there is no they, guys. It's only us. There is no they. All of that is a big fantasy. We all come into existence every moment all together. It's a wholeness. There's one thing happening. I've told this story many times, and it probably gets old, but that was so, I thank whatever's running the show deeply for this experience. At the time, it was terrorizing because I didn't really have context yet. I was still a few months from meeting Sharon. But there was the direct experience, just like the one we're having here now, of nothingness, the void, some people call it, the no thing. Void has never worked for me, but nothing. And then everything. And then nothing. And then everything. Like 25 times between the couch and the kitchen sink. I would just sort of be waiting, is it coming back on? Isn't it? Existence doesn't have to exist. Existence is a totally, purely benevolent act of love only for us. It isn't happening to us. It's happening for us. It's not written that the dancer has to stir the great waters of the deep potential. And yet she has. And here we are. And what are we going to do with it? This is the core and essence of retreat. yeah, there's some other great benefits, right? We get fed, they do our dishes. I mean, I get it. I've had people tell me that's why they're coming to retreat. I'm compassionate about that, but I'm also a little mystified. I'm a little mystified. I mean, maybe 10 years ago, but with everything that's going on now, I don't know. Barb and I attended, and Lisa attended a retreat in Lake Tahoe with Aja one time, and a woman that some of you know named Barbara was his retreat leader. We know Barbara, and not our BZ, but and she was like a personal trainer. It was a very cool expression of retreat leader. It was like, you can do it, guys. I mean, I felt like I was like on cross country or something, like, yeah, you know. And it was very, I felt like I was in basketball again, you know, the coaching and the team aspect. And I feel like I'm a little bit in that mood today, you know. We can do it. Let's go, you know. The time is now. I mean, she would get up and she would just be very fierce about it. I don't know what you're using your retreat for, but I heard what I heard Anya say was, you know, and this is that. This is not to say it has to be soberingly uh, shut down. Sharon gave a hilarious impression of Vipassana at this past retreat that I'm not sure she's aware of her giving, but she was like, and I sat there and I followed every thought. You know, I mean, it doesn't have to be rigidly I don't know how to say it, but curiosity and curiosity, wonderment, playfulness, yes, 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 but also not as a permissiveness or an indulgence, a letting off the hook, a spiritual bypassing. Because one has to be sincere. Do we get that? We have to be sincere. We can't just skip for joy when we're feeling the most excruciating grief that we've ever felt, you know, and oh, it's uncaused joy. You see the disconnect. That's a mind's game. A conceptual mind's trying to understand something it can't actually experience, which is wholeness, all of it together. So sincerity is really key, right? And of bringing attention. Well, this finally gets me around to what I was going to talk about. I knew that was going to happen. So, kindness. That's what I wanted to speak about. Kindness. Kindness goes a long ways. Anybody who's sat with me for any amount of time has heard me say it. Kindness. Are the thoughts kind? Are the reactions to the thoughts kind? Is there kindness? Is there kindness in this process? Is there kindness in this journey? Where is the kindness? How does it express? What would it do? Kindness, gentleness. If this is all a wholeness, you, me, and everything else, all these atoms that are mostly space, 99.9% of everything we see right here is space. And all of it's holding together for us, for this education of our hearts, this return to love. You know, it has when it has an awareness of itself as that, what other move is there than kindness? And if something comes up in the personality that isn't, it inspires more kindness. Here, on the mat, sort of an example. Yesterday, I had just really, I don't think a lot. I mean, especially after, whatever that was, however many years, almost decades at this point ago, where, thinking was not available. There's not a lot of that goes on, but like for getting retreat ready, there was a lot of that. And I kept thinking, okay, and they're just hit a certain point where, and I just was kind of like, oh, it's not going to work. I can't do anymore. And the next movement, uninspired by Jennifer, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's not out to get anything. It just takes care of itself. The next movement is, oh man, I'm sorry. This is what's happening. It's not out to get something. It takes care of itself. That's a really big difference. We can't use uncaused love. It comes into emptiness as fullness and takes care of itself. And that is the essence of creativity. And boy, do we need some creativity, because the same old thinking about the same old problems, about the same old thinking, about the same old problems, about the same old thinking is not working. We're not fighting fire with fire. It's not working. We're not, yeah. There is potential and possibility and life beyond anything we can think about. Just waiting. Even Einstein said he never thought about any of his formulas. They only ever happened when he wasn't thinking. This is the father of quantum reality, which we're all very much living now. If we haven't noticed, Newtonian is over. Cause and effect, A then B, this then that. It's too whole for that. Some of the best insight into that was ever given here was in nursing school, to be really honest. Holistic health, wholeness. So it starts here, guys. It starts with our willingness to occupy our hearts in a full way, full-heartedness, wholeheartedness, as a way of being, even when it's really scary. even when the mind thinks it's a fairy tale and can't possibly yield any results whatsoever. Save yourself. Get out. Because all of this is natural. Natural. In the heart of the heart. In the eye of the heart. It's natural. It's spontaneous. That's why they call it true nature. It's not contrived. It's not layered up with that referencing. That next step. That step that we take in relationship to direct experience. I don't know what's coming. I haven't really been able to predict any one of these phases, even when many through the ages have given them to us. It's still different when you are directly experiencing it and not just reading it or listening to somebody, right? So I don't know what's coming, but what's here now is immediacy. I mean, I've been, sort of teaching that in the, whatever, my limited way. I do the best I can for, the last couple of years, trying to find better words. Very, very rarely, if ever, is there that next step where there's the direct happening of the instantaneous is, and there's nobody here describing it, narrating it. It takes some getting used to. I had somebody call me for a Dokusan last week who had been at Sharon's retreat, and all of a sudden this world bloomed into her direct experience, and she couldn't lose the sense of falling through space. And I remember that. It does. All these phases stabilize. My advice, if I could encourage anything, is to enjoy the stage you're at. That's not indulge. I'm not saying grip tightly. Not grip tightly, but enjoy. And know that change will come. I mean, it's a difficult, challenging, even just to think about, really, sometimes, being kind to everything that comes one's way. I'm not saying stick around for abuse or, don't, get out of the car in Yellowstone and play with the grizzly bears or whatever it is. You have to be sincere about what's real and use discernment. Discernment. Things are what they are. They're not what we hope and wish them to be. They are what they are. And when we are kind in that moment of discernment, what feels like a miracle happens. It feels miraculous because the mind can't conceive of it. The relative reality changes. It changes. One is moved by what one is animated by and as. And that whole burden of making the best and greatest plan is removed. And I remember there being times where, you know how like the grooves in our brain, I can actually feel them and see them. Like conditioning looks like a groove, you know, it's like a rutted road. Maybe you know that, Ty. Like, is that real? It feels real. There would be kind of like a remnant in the nervous system left over that would reach for the defense, the compensation, the otherness, the story, the justification, the righteousness, whatever, and it just would not be available. There was still one foot in one world and one foot in the other. You know how that is, the two streams kind of come together as you're changing levels of consciousness. And there would be the remnant, the reach, and nope. This just remained, no matter how much the personality wanted to go, it just remained. It was a transition there. I mean, the younger people, I'm looking at this beautiful face here. You look wide open. Thank God. But some of us have old wiring. Old house, new wiring. So, you know, stripping the wires out, getting a new nervous system, getting new physiology. It's no joke. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir in this room because so many of you are healers and body workers and stuff, but Dr. Hawkins used to talk about this a lot. I haven't heard a lot of people sharing that the changes in the physiology with the new earth, the new vision, it's not new, it's original. It's new to consciousness, but it's absolutely original. Original. That takes some, we don't need to go into that right now. I think I brought the impact of awakening. Somebody may have already grabbed it. Audio outlines it quite well in that book. There's also another book over there if somebody's really experiencing a lot of it. Or come to a small group where one of the body workers is also in the group. Energies of Transformation, the Bonnie Greenwell book. Another one of the teachers in Adya's lineage who was a Kundalini expert, I guess you might say. I didn't really give any pointers or directions or anything about actual silent sitting. And I would say come to the small group today. If you're really, there's a lot of people who have sat for many years in this room, so, but there may be some who are kind of going, what are we doing? You know, specifically bodily. I think I'm doing a guided meditation after our break, so I'll maybe try to address that a little bit. Thank you. Have a beautiful day.